My name is Candace Johnson, guys. Good morning. You may remember me. I sometimes fill in with you guys, and I'm super excited to be doing that this morning on this very dreary Saturday. And dreary for a few reasons, and I'll go over it with you. Again, my name is Candace. You're listening to WURD Radio, 900 AM, 96.1 FM. On Facebook, if you see me, I appreciate that because I did do my makeup and my lashes for you, even though I copped out a little bit and I did wear a hat. But it's rainy today. It's rainy, and I'm going to be honest, as I always try to be with you all. I always so much appreciate the ability to have transparency and authenticity on the radio. I think it's something that we're lacking in our society. And when I was asked to co-host or to guest host the show today, I thought, oh my gosh, great. I want to put together something that is so uplifting and bright for a Saturday, but that's really not what we were given. And last night, my whole life changed. And I figured, you know what? As opposed to doing what was planned, we're going to do what is real and what is happening in real time. So we are going to spend the next 2 hours together talking about the failures of the second week in the new year. Okay? So 88% of us will have failed our New Year's resolutions by the second week in January. And I am included in that staggering statistic. Okay, so if you have anything that you want to share this morning, Nicholas, you have to hop on here and help me out for a second. Will you tell the people the number to call in this morning?
Oh, man, I really should know that since I work here all the time. But luckily, I got my cheat sheet in front of me. So the call-in numbers, if you guys are interested, are 215-634-8065. If you're calling in toll-free, that's 1-866-361-0900.
Guys, applaud Nicholas. He's going to be my babysitter this morning because I am feeling very fragile. I've been sharing with a girlfriend yesterday that being in my 40s, the word old comes up more times than is necessary and definitely more times than is appropriate. And I realized it's not old that I'm suffering from. It's a mix of experience and fragility. So I have to be much more kind to myself. I have to give myself much more grace. I have to allow myself to feel something that we don't really always do for each other. And I'm going to invite you to do that with me today. And so one of the things I said to Nicholas as we are just meeting is I said to him, I was like, listen, I'm feeling very fragile today. I want people to call in. I want them to share their failures so that we can support each other. But I want everyone to give me grace. I want everyone to give me kindness, and I want you to coddle me like I'm a baby. All right? So again, Nicholas, I'm going to keep you going. Give the people the number one more time. I want you to think about this. What are your New Year's failures already as we are in the second week of January, and 88% of us have already failed? Give us the number one more time, Nicholas.
Numbers, once again, are 215-634-8065. And toll-free, that's 1-866-361-0900.
All right, I appreciate that, and I'm going to ask you again. But, Nicholas, I do want to ask a question. I said to Nicholas, as, again, we are just like meeting. I'm going to ask you these questions on air. But, number one, did you set any New Year's resolutions?
Absolutely not, and that's because I happen to know about myself that just because I set a goal for myself, I'm not necessarily going to meet that. What I do try to do is just improve a little better from what I was doing last year. So I didn't set any kind of like resolution, but I'm making a mental note of, okay, when I get up before I go to work, I have to make my bed. I have to make sure that I put my shoes on I'm supposed to. I have to make sure I'm not throwing my jackets over a lamp or something, because that's what I was doing all last year. And I would come home and go, oh my God, my room looks like this. So I didn't make a note of it or anything. I'm just trying to be a little bit better than I was last year.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. I like that. I read an article recently, and I think it's called the 1% Better Method. And it kind of leans on what you're saying. Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to make this what can sound like an aggressive change when you're saying a resolution. It's really just about being 1% better. If I ever felt like, I don't know, making my bed as soon as I got out of it, I would honestly think that something's wrong with me. Because I always say my kryptonite is cleaning. That's just not something I'm interested in. Okay, good. But guys, definitely call in because I'm so curious. And as I'm waiting for your calls, I asked ChatGPT to go over what are some of the most commonly researched topics as it pertains to the new year. What are the things that people are so motivated to either want to resolve or focus on or reflect on? And the list is, in a lot of ways, of course, I'm sure if I asked you, hey, what do you think are on the list? Then there are a lot of these things you would say, oh, yeah, I definitely know this thing. Of course, this is going to be on the list. But there was one thing missing from the list that, while it makes sense that it's missing on the list, it also lets me know that this is what's wrong. Period. This is what's wrong. Okay, so I want to talk about it. Okay, so commonly searched topics leading up to and in the first week of January. So obviously, number one, people Google what New Year's resolutions they should create. Already, to me, that's already a little weird, right? Asking a computer system, hey, what should my New Year's resolutions be, right? That's something that you sort of want to take inventory of around November, December. Hey, what can I do better as I'm reflecting on the year? Was it a good year? Was it a bad year? Okay, well, what made it a good or bad year? Okay, how can I resolve those things for the new year? But that's fine, right? And not only are people looking at what are New Year's resolutions, but then the second to that is, well, how to stick with them. Okay, that's fair. It's always important to look for guidance and mentorship. So I have an appreciation for that. Next one, right? Finances, money reset. Wanting to understand how to up their bank accounts. Totally understand, right? Especially in the economy we're in now, it would make sense that people want to be more mindful of their money. I know I definitely need to get better with my money. I had a meeting with a business mentor yesterday, and I said to him, I've been blessed to be in some of the most powerful rooms with some of the most powerful people. And what I know for sure is that the smartest person in the room still has stuff they don't know, right? So at the end of the day, we all have things that we have to get better at. And for me, for sure, in my business, it's definitely my finances. So that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to keep going down the list, but we have Woody from West Philly. I love that. I'm from West Philly. How are you, Woody?
Good. And I heard your question, and I really appreciated it because I think more people need to ask that of themselves. And here at the barbershop, on all my cards, it says barbershop talk, working on the head and in the head. In the process, we have to learn how to realize the three parts of the one whole that you are. Once you understand that and you bring them together, when all three agree, happy are we. When all three disagree, then you're divided, body, mind, and spirit. So you have to start with that first thing in the morning, and it sounds like you should appreciate and count more blessings. I think that would be the thing that I would have to say to you. Once you start counting those blessings, no matter what year it is, instead of saying Happy New Year, it'll become a Happy New Day every time you awaken.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I have an appreciation for that. Woody, number one, I appreciate your words, and I thank you for the work that you do. I think barbers and beauty salon owners are the therapists of our community, right? Like, you are the ones that are sort of taking in a lot of people's angst and desires and struggles, and it's kind of up to you, while you're like physically touching us, to also give us some of that spiritual contact and hopefully emotional support. So I definitely appreciate you calling in. I would say that, I am definitely a woman that comes from gratitude. I'm very rarely exhausted. I'm just Miss Sunshine. That's why they call me Miss Touchy-Feely, just between the game and my disposition on life. But, even the sun gets tired of shining on everyone. Every once in a while, we need to be taken care of. And I have an appreciation for the title Strong Woman, but it's not one I rest on. It's just a crown that people keep giving me. But I always like to show that even the strongest of the strong and the grateful of the grateful also have moments where you want to look around your community and say, okay, now you take this. You be grateful for me. You hold it for me. So you're sharing those words. Definitely, absolutely. I'm so grateful for my life. I would never want to be anybody else. But today is definitely one of those days where I'm letting my body feel what it feels, if that makes sense. So another commonly searched topic is fitness, right? Everyone's wanting to figure out how can we better motivate ourselves. And obviously physical fitness is so important, but I always feel like there's a disconnect between physical fitness in the way of I want to lose weight versus physical fitness in the form of what kind of Woody was saying, which is like sort of like connecting all of the human experience, right? There's the body, there's the mind, and there's the spirit. And I actually find that, and I talk about Pilates a lot, guys, a lot. I talk about Pilates, I talk about tennis. Pilates is a spiritual practice for me that happens to be very beneficial to my physical form. I have a quite beautiful body, I think, but beautiful because it's so strong, right? Which is allowing me to believe I'm a strong woman because I see the way I exert it in my spirit. I see the way I exert it in my physical actions, and I see the way I can stand up for myself emotionally. So when it comes to the fitness thing, I'm always so intrigued by, is it true fitness that you're looking for? Or are you looking for physical attraction that sort of can come from the gym as well? So obviously, after we talk about fitness, then of course the next one would be your nutrition, right? People have, if you're going to work out, then of course you're going to want to pay attention to what you're eating. And when it comes to that, I had this really, really interesting conversation last night. And bear with me, but let me know what you think about this, because I'm about to say something deep and I really, really, really want your input. So again, I'll give you the number, but also if you don't want to share on the radio, you don't want us to hear your voice, you're more than welcome to have the conversation with us on our Facebook page. If you go to the WURD Radio Facebook page, you can go ahead and leave a comment. I see a few of you have. Good morning, Harry. I appreciate you. Miss Barnes, good morning. I appreciate you. I just want you to be able to have a way to communicate with me if you're not comfortable calling in. But if you are comfortable calling in, here's the number, 215-634-8065. I just took Nicholas's job away because I remembered the number. All right. So one of the things that I had shared last night with a friend of mine is, and guys, let me just give you some history about who I am really quickly. Just a quick backstory in case this is your first time being with me, I was a television news producer for almost 15 years, 10 in this city, the city of Philadelphia. I did a morning show. And so I feel incredibly educated when it comes to the societal spirit, the overall thinking and ways of the people. I'm also a Philadelphia girl. I'm from West Philly. My dad was a big deal in this city. My grandfather was a police officer killed on duty in this city. So when we talk about Philadelphia natives, I feel like the blood of Philadelphia runs through me. Okay. So that's really, really important to me to say. And also, I was a woman who was raised in a nuclear family filled with love and kindness and experience, and a mother who thought it was important to understand her own power and then fill me up with my own power. And so when I think about nutrition, and just follow me because I know this is a little long, but when I think about nutrition, what I think about are the ways in which we substitute the pleasures that we can't get to by filling them up on our plate. Okay? Our bodies yearn for certain things. And when we're having these yearnings, how is it that we satisfy? For a lot of us, when we want to celebrate, right, we do it with food. When we're sad, we do it with food. When we want adventure, we go to a new restaurant and we try a new cuisine, right? But what if maybe that new adventure is meant to be a hike? Or what if that new exploration is meant to be a new friend or a new companion? Food is just one of those really interesting pleasures where it's one of the only ones that's fully forgivable unless it shows on your physical self. So I always think that nutrition is such an interesting one. Is it nutrition that you're concerned about? Or is it about trying to reconnect the idea of pleasure off your plate? For me, that's something that I'm working on in 2026. How can I eliminate pleasures from my plate so that I can redefine them in other areas of my life? Traveling more, connecting more to people. I love picnics. I love being in the sun. I love bodies of water. Like, how can I do those things more? Even being able to talk to you guys. Guys, this is like a form of therapy for me. And also, speaking of therapy, in about 15 minutes, we're actually going to have two therapists come on. They both specialize in nonverbal therapy techniques. And so we'll talk about that in a second. I actually asked Nicholas what he thought about that, and he had a really interesting first idea. So Nicholas, I'll ask you that in a minute, but I want to go through a couple of more things on this list. So another thing that is commonly searched for New Year's resolutions or possible goals is journaling and mental wellness. So I thought that was really interesting, right? That's definitely a change from the last few years. Mental health definitely seems to be something that people are becoming more mindful of, and hopefully soon will become more encouraged to look at first. I actually would say that your mental health is probably more important than your physical health. Yes, they're deeply tied together, but it's very difficult to be able to keep a fitness routine if your mind isn't with it. And I'm happy to talk about my fitness story if you guys would like. I gained 50 pounds in the pandemic, and honestly, I thought I looked fantastic. But the fact is that wasn't serving me as a strong body. Honestly, I tried to run for the 36 trolley and I almost fell out running like a third of a block. And I was like, okay, well, the body is beautiful and it looks very voluptuous, but it's worth nothing if I can't run. So I had to lose that weight. And for me, a part of it was spending the first 9 months saying to myself, you're going to do this. Before I went to a gym, before I did anything, I had to get my mind right. Hey, you are going to do this. Okay. So the very last thing that I see on the list here is tax ramp up. People looking at taxes. Okay. So I thought that was really interesting too. Now, a bonus one was dry January. Last time I was on the show, I think it was last week, I was covering for Solomon Jones, who was off the Friday after Thanksgiving. And we talked about dry January, taking that mental clarity, taking that sort of lubrication break where we can center back into ourselves and realize what is it that we are negating in our partying or in our self-medicating. Okay. So, that's the list, right? Here's one that I feel should be on here and it is not. What are our relationship goals? And am I a strong communicator? How can I be a better communicator? When I leave people, places, or things, is it better? Are those things better when I leave than when I got there? I think if we ask ourselves more, how much of us are planters and how many of us are destroyers of things, right? Like when I think to myself, anytime I meet a new person, no matter how exhausted I am, I always think to myself, but I want to give them something of me. I want them to feel better than than before they met me. I want them to feel like meeting me was a blessing or encouraging. I don't always feel like I get that in reciprocation. And I just wonder, like, how many of us really think about that? Yes, we're always looking at New Year's resolutions for, hey, how can I be better for myself? But how many of us are really thinking about, hey, how can I be better for other people? I don't know, just something that I always want to think about. But let me go over this statistic with you. Okay, so failure by the second week of the new year is extremely common, with studies showing that up to 88% of people abandon their resolution by mid-January, meaning the second week, often because goals are too big. Rarely are they truly motivating, which means that they tend to fade because of a lack of encouragement. And also people have a very all or nothing mindset. When Nicholas was just mentioning about just like doing a little bit at a time, it kind of reminded me of that story of, what is it? The rabbit in the hair. Is it the rabbit in the hair? No, the turtle in the hair, the tortoise in the hair. You guys know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about? The race with the two and like the hair.
Yeah.
The hare goes really fast and the tortoise goes really slow. And of course, the thinking is that the hare who's going fast is going to win. But ultimately, it's the tortoise who goes, what is it? Like slow and steady that wins the race. And so I'm really having an appreciation for what Nicholas was sharing, because that is kind of something that we need to be thinking about, right? Like sort of that. Maybe I should just be moving slow and steady, and that will be how we win the race, right? So that's another reason why I wanted to have these two amazing therapists on, is that it's not necessarily about how can we change everything, but how can we at least get the resources to change one thing, okay? So important, one thing. And so now, we are rounding out about a minute away from coming into commercial break. So I just wanted to share with you that I know you guys kind of have to sit with me in this. This is going to be an interesting next 90 minutes. We're really going to dig into some things when it comes to failure. Failure can sometimes sound like a negative thing, but winners fail. I read somewhere that Serena Williams has lost 95% of the matches that she's played, and she's number one. So the other thing to failure is reserved for people who play, and I'm a player. Okay, so this isn't about being a downer. This is about just being real and hopefully finding resources that's going to bring us back up to the top. My name is Candace Johnson. You're listening to WURD Radio. It is about to be a phenomenal 90 minutes. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Guys, I'm Candace Johnson. You're listening to WURD Radio this morning, 900 AM, 96.1 FM. Nicholas says I need to slow it down just a tiny bit. Okay, so I'm going to give you this number slow. 215-634-8065. Okay, here's why you're going to want that number. Because in a moment, we're about to have 2 licensed counselors come on to have conversation with us, okay? Here's why I am such a downer this morning. And I am so sorry to put this on you guys, but this is what community is for. This is what family is for. And I need you. And I am okay to say I need you. Last night, for the fourth time in 7 or 8 months, my boyfriend has broken up with me. This man is lovely. He's an incredible person. But at the end of the day, we are the making ups of our experiences. He was not raised in a two-family home. He's not seen operating, loving partners. He doesn't believe in the spirit of love. He believes in being a provider. He believes in being a gentleman. He believes in the cover-up is easier than the honesty. And unfortunately, I am a woman who needs the honesty over the cover-up. And so with all due love and consideration and care, we ended our relationship last night. And this is not one of those scenarios where I'm thinking, oh my God, he's a bad guy. Or this isn't a scenario where I'm thinking, oh, I did something wrong. This is one of those things where I'm looking out in the world and I am clear, at least in this moment, that our society has not set us up for love to blossom prosperously. Do you guys feel that? Which is why it was so important in the last segment that I talked about the things that we are commonly searching for our New Year's resolutions. When I listed them, yes, they're all self-improvement things, but what about the love improvement? Okay, so that's why I wanted to invite these two very different but incredibly powerful women to come on this morning, because they are doing the work to help people sort of find themselves, even when communication is tough. And, you know, for a lot of us, it's very, very, very difficult to share our experiences. A lot of us are worried about being judged. A lot of us are worried about looking weak. A lot of us are worried about looking mean. And also, I've been able to see that some people are even worried about looking like a predator, quite frankly, in their honesty. And so this morning, I want you to feel encouraged to share not only your failures, but the things that you just simply don't know and you need help with. Because today for me is one of those days I do not know. I thought I found a man who I could call my husband. And just because life is what it is, that will not be so. So I'm actually going to call in our two guests this morning. So we have Romaine on one side, and then we have DJ on the other side. And ladies, I know you're just meeting each other for the first time. And before I get into my first question, which I've already sort of asserted already, which is why do people have such a hard time sharing their human experience and their struggles? Will you both just take about 30 seconds each to introduce yourself? Romaine, I'll start with you.
Yes, hi, I'm Romaine Diaz. I'm a licensed professional counselor as well as a dance movement therapist. I have a private practice of a lovely 10 of us on the team, and we do various different things in the city, just serving our community.
Beautiful. Lovely. DJ?
Yes, lovely to meet you. Hi, I'm Dejola McGowan. I'm lovingly called DJ. I'm also new to private practice in the Philadelphia region. I'm a licensed professional counselor as well as a movement instructor.
Yes, yes. And I hope that you all in the audience heard what they both said, right? Not only are they counselors, but they operate in the space of movement, right? Which is so beautiful because, you know, when there's a problem, it's not about just recognizing a problem and going, oh, well, this is the problem. So there's the block. So that's why the water's not running. It's about, okay, well, what's the alternative to get the flow? And if you don't feel comfortable verbally sharing, then there are alternatives to your therapy practices, right? So with Romaine, like she just shared with dance therapy, and then with Dee, you are so different, right? Because we've worked together, we've done events together, and Dee is not only a counselor, but she's actually a pole dancer herself. Okay, but before we even get into that, let's talk again about this very first question I posed, which is, why do people have such a hard time sharing their human experience and their struggle? I don't know which one of you would like to take that on first.
Yeah, I think the struggle is that people, number one, don't feel safe. Don't feel safe sharing what's going on with them through past history, through experience, obviously, of maybe putting themselves out there or trying to put themselves out there and either got shut down, was minimized, dismissed, right? Another factor is people don't have the language to share what's on their mind. You know, we use a lot of different words, maybe even some slang words like, you know, I feel some kind of way. Okay, I think in our culture, we know what it means, but I also kind of go, such as, you know, so we can be very familiar on truly how you feel. So those are some of the things that I feel happens when we say we don't know or have a barrier of sharing what we're feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Just to piggyback off of that, I think at the core of it, vulnerability feels risky.
Yeah.
I think also specifically in this day and age, like we're living in a very difficult timeline where, connection and community and relationship just feels very unsafe. And we find a lot of avoidance and minimization, and we're just
Hmm.
like perpetuating the cycle as well.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
word avoidance, boy.
Can I tell
Ooh.
you? So my boyfriend, a relationship ended last night. Blessed to be in community where I'm in wellness. So I have attachment to all the wellness girls. Both
Right.
of you. Not only do I have admiration for you, but I know you through the work of
Mhm.
wellness. And
Right.
so when I met my boyfriend 8 months ago, it was very clear that he is a fear avoidant person, deeply, but a lovely man. So I wanted to take the chance. I wanted to take the risk. But at the end of the day, the fearful avoidant won. That fear he has just won. It took over him. And you can't fight the fear. I can't fight somebody else's fear. So when you said that, I think you both are so on point. Not feeling safe, not being vulnerable, and music, movies, everything accounts for you're actually strong if you can walk away.
Right. And also
Mhm.
too, we use this word toxic so much that I don't even know what the meaning is anymore. So meaning like just because somebody shares their bad day or shares what's on their mind, oh, you're being negative, you're being toxic. Then we're asking people, well, tell me how you feel. Let me know what's going on. You're not letting me in, you know. Well, that's not allowing the other person to create that safe space to share, right? And because the other person might not know how to receive or deal with it or know how to respond, it's toxic, it's negative. I gotta do everything positive in my life, right? Which you should engage in and welcome positivity, right? But that doesn't mean somebody's thoughts and feelings or yours is considered negative or toxic.
Yes, the co-opting of like therapy speak has been really
Yeah,
tragic because there's so many different definitions were not true to the meaning, and then
yeah.
things go miscommunicated or even misperceived.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's keep up with that communication theme. So let's talk about types of nonverbal communication, right? Because even with me, I started coaching. When we say counseling, but I started coaching, and the common theme that I'm seeing is really just letting people know that if you don't share it, it's you.
Mm.
If everybody else in the world is shooting their gun at you and you've not said, "Can you please stop shooting at me?"
Right.
then you
Hmm.
like it. Do you know what I mean? Like you are okay. You are a participant in it, a willing
Right.
participant. And so, but also like I said, if you see the block and the block is that people don't feel safe to share, okay, then what are other nonverbal therapy forms that people can use to motivate themselves to get into the spirit of sharing? DJ, I don't know if you want to go first.
Sure. I mean, I particularly love nonverbal therapies. I feel like they're a very powerful tool to kind of bypass the thinking brain and access the emotional and somatic and symbolic experience that we're all having, especially when words don't feel accessible. So there are a number, I know we focus mainly in movement, but for children, there's play therapy, there's music therapy, art therapy, somatic therapy, and sand tray therapies that allow us to really ground in our body experience. Because honestly, the world is full of sensory disruption. And we're so focused outwardly that we don't have the same somatic awareness maybe our ancestors had. And we're kind of disconnected, which just perpetuates the inability to communicate it when it's very, very important to maintain these relationships.
Yeah, Romaine, did you have anything to add on to?
Yeah, well, as a movement therapist, I just enjoy doing this work. It's such a powerful thing to witness, but also be a part of. And DJ, you hit the nail on the head as far as that disconnection and connection. I run several groups that we talk about mind, body, and spirit connection, disconnection. What does that mean? What does that look like? Um, I think we all experience where, you know, we have our phone on our hand, our glasses on our head, and we're like, where's my glasses? Anybody see my glasses? Anybody? Right? Our brain is in overload. Our body is having a different feeling. And what we're feeling like in the inside, our spirit is saying something else, right? how can we join those forces, join those things together, um, in a way through movement, through body-based expressions, um, to just reconnect ourselves, right? It is such a powerful thing to, I can't even, I just need people to experience that. And people do have a hard time connecting to their bodies, because it is a place of vulnerability, right? Especially with someone else. Um, some people, don't like to connect emotionally with hugs or physical touch. And some people do really well with that. They say, I need that connection, right? So it is very important to utilize other types of therapy, alternative therapy, with verbal, because it comes together. We do process a little bit as well, um, to just get that well-rounded support that you need, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about going into it. So let's say I'm a first time client with either one of you, right? What does that look like? So when I call, do I say, "Hey, I don't want to talk. How can you help me?" Or what does that process look like? Romaine, if you want to go first.
Yeah. So when our intake coordinator reaches out to the client, we ask them their past experience, was helpful, was not helpful. We make sure that we line the client up with the right therapist that would be a good fit. Now, if they're coming to see me, I'm going to ask questions as far as their experience with how they express themselves. I use music all the time. You will not catch me without my speaker in my car, like, my Bluetooth in my house. I have a big, big speaker. Do a lot of entertaining, and their connection through music, through movement, whether you enjoy yourself singing, right? Self-expression, writing, creating. There's a lot of creative people out here, right? And they kind of shelter that a little bit. So I asked them what their experience of expressing themselves and what has been the barrier over the years. And we just start with something very light, whether we do a nice warm up together. It could be in your chair. It doesn't have to be a full fledged, because we also meet with seniors and other people that have different health issues. We move, we try to connect, and we just share what that experience is like, and then we go from there, through the themes that come up in session, the movement.
I love that. So when it comes to movement, see, of course, my first thought was dance, but also it's creative writing, it's singing, like it's the movement of the body, not necessarily in dance form. Oh my gosh, I actually really love that. Okay, Deej, and with you, we did relationship bingo a couple of months ago, and Deej was amazing. So relationship bingo is something that I host every month. We have one coming up on January 31st in Atlantic City. Tickets are on our website, touchyfeelygame.com. And what we do is it's relationship bingo, right? So it's bingo, but on your board, instead of numbers and letters, it's relationship stages and styles. And what we do, or what we're really trying to do, is we're encouraging people to not only recognize these terms as real terms, but beyond real terms, these are real human beings' experiences. So we can't minimize them as, oh, that's dumb or that's weird or whatever, right? And what was great about DJ and Ramon, I would love to have you on sometime to come to one of the events, is we have you come on as the referee. Okay. So that when inevitably we have someone coming on using words like, my least favorite word in life right now is situationship. It allows for you to be intimate with someone without having any intimacy with them.
Right.
It's like taking something and just taking out all of the nutritional value of it, and now you're just left with a bag of chips, And so to be able to call out those people who just sort of have a more unwell point of view, so that now we're not laughing with the person or at the person, but we're helping correct the person in humor, which we're okay with. And so DJ, not only did she do that, act as our referee, but then she also was our entertainment, and how she did that was through her pole dance. And you mentioned somatic therapy. So we have to wrap and go into commercial break in about a minute, but will you just talk to us a little bit about the pole dancing and what is the parallel between being a counselor and being a pole dancer, which of course some people would call erotic and misplaced.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, somatic therapy is really creating and understanding my language, like my self-awareness through my body. Pole dance just happens to be the medium through which I have been the most effective. And so through my own personal experience, I've opened up that experience to my clients or introduced them to the opportunity of that. But specifically when it comes to just aligning my clients with understanding we're coming from bottom up. We're no longer doing the thinking first. we're doing the feeling first. And really acknowledging and building that muscle so that way communication comes at ease. And I do that through dance, I do that through pole, and I've been doing that almost 8 years now.
It's so beautiful. And to watch you was so lovely because, you know, when you came to the event, you came as a professional, you gave to us as a woman. And then what was really sweet is we also got to see your personal life because you had your partner there. And that's something that I also want to acknowledge in both of you. And we're about to go to commercial break, but Remain's been married, is married. Sorry, was married, is married. And when I first met you, you spoke so lovingly about your husband.
Yes.
And then Deej, when you came in, not only, listen, her man is fine. Now, Remain, I've not seen your husband yet, but I can say that we want two things. We want us to be in love, and we want us to be in love with somebody who we are attracted to. Okay. So ladies, if I can have you stay for the next segment, because we'll ask some questions. We'll go to commercial break now. If you have something to ask these lovely ladies, please give us a call in. All right. And we will see you right after this commercial break. Okay, so we are going to be spending all morning playing some music by Jill Scott. Obviously, everybody knows, right? She has a new album coming out. And she is giving us some gems. I actually wanted to play a little bit of a clip that I saw last night with Jill Scott, and I wanted to get your feedback on it. This is her thoughts when it comes to submission in women. Nicholas, whenever you're ready.
I said I am a dominant submissive, so I appreciate the time when I actually can submit. Now I've learned with grace and age that I cannot submit until I can see that I can submit. It can't just be words. It can't be an action. It has
Is this
to
a real thing? Like in relationship? Like this is how you guide your relationship?
It has to be fair, firm, and consistent.
I need some. some
charge.
Come on.
It's got to be fair, firm, and consistent.
We can stop right there.
That's what I need.
Fair, firm, and consistent. I have been villainized with the term strong woman my entire life. The only people who think I'm strong are people who don't want to get to know me. I am a codependent, independent woman. It's going to get done. I'd rather us do it together. I'd rather be cuddled up with my man than to be outside alone. Now, your girl can be in front of a microphone, but I can be happy on the couch, right? But fair, consistent, and firm. And as we were talking in the last segment about the lack of safety people are having, right? Which then allows for the vulnerability not to be present. Well, now I can't be submissive the way I spiritually would. And because I have all the tools to be any kind of woman to survive on this planet, now I'm independent and I'm exhausted. So I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on that because, again, when it comes to the New Year's resolutions, we're thinking about how we can elevate ourselves. But shouldn't we also be thinking how the selves that we are, how it is affecting others around us? Are we making the women have to be hard or all the women hard? I don't know if anybody wants to jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most beautiful thing about this clip is seeing a woman have language for her needs regarding safety. I think that's probably what was most jarring about that interview for maybe some people, is that feels like maybe like a strict way to engage in relationship. But just exactly like we said earlier, vulnerability needs to have safety. I need to have safety to delve deep, to engage you in that way. But it's my responsibility to be able to communicate that.
Yeah, I agree. I know we were sharing before we went on break, I've been with my husband for 29 years. So for in high school now, we're trying to see if he keeps me another year. No, I'm joking. But one of the things is definitely learning how to be safe with each other before we can go to each, the different levels and the things that, she's sharing, Jill Sky's sharing in her interview is like, how can we feel safe? Mind, body, spirit, I'm putting it out there again because there's multiple layers of us to begin to talk about how we feel, what direction we want to go into, what are we looking for each other, and not like a checkoff list, but I do need a partner in my life. I do need someone or would like someone to share my goofy things that I enjoy, the things that I'm interested in. I do want to share my dreams, my hopes, and not be criticized, right? Or not be put down, right? But be helpful. If you see me drown and, you're going to lift a hand or a finger, or you're just going to look at me, right? So to be able to talk about those things, and we definitely change over time. So that means we have to change and share with our partner what's going on with us and what we're into, what we're not into. And I thought I kind of liked that before, but I don't like that now. Actually, now that I think about it, right? So it's a continuous movement and cycle that we're going to be in if we're willing to grow and do that together,
DJ?
Yeah, I think similarly, in my relationship, when I met my partner, I was in like a whole year of rediscovery because I got heartbroken, and my fight or flight is isolate. I left the state. I created a whole new life after being harmed, because that's just what I had to do at that point. But I also recognize that those were survival avoidance behaviors. They're safety behaviors. So I didn't feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to deal with my pain in that area near that person. So I chose this route. So after noticing that, I really did the work, kind of like what Jill Scott did, to really develop language and understanding and self-awareness about exactly what would make me feel safe in a partnership, in a relationship. And then I made sure I communicated that. And if there was any action or comments that felt untoward when it came to my boundaries, I didn't wait. I addressed it immediately because I needed my partner to know that I felt unsafe in that moment. And the nice and beautiful thing about my partner is that he responded in kind. It wasn't a problem to redirect. It wasn't a problem to find a solution to redevelop my safety in that relationship. And it's a continuous process too, because just like Romaine said, I am changing. We're all changing. And those things ebb and flow. We have to be flexible as well. But I also need to communicate that something is flexibly happening inside me.
Yeah.
I think also too is like recognizing your own triggers, because sometimes it's not about the partner, what they're doing. It's like you get triggered, right? And mine's is attack. Like you guys are talking about isolation. I'm like the lioness. I'm like, rah. Like
Romaine's from North Philly, so you
no,
know.
well, I'm from West Philly. I just went to school in North Philly. No, I went to school in North Philly.
Gotcha.
So, you learn some things over there too. It's a combination, right? Absolutely. So, yeah, there's a combination. So, I'm a military brat too. So that's a whole other story.
Ooh.
But I'm ready to go wow. So sometimes it's like before I leap, I'm like, all right, let me back up the train a little bit. Let me see what's going on. So doing some self-reflection too. So
Yeah. I want to thank Harry. Harry, I started the show by telling everybody I want to be coddled this morning. I want love. I want energy. I mean, really, I need to be laid on a lily pad and just praised on, just reinvigorated. But so Harry, I appreciate you. He just said sorry to hear about the breakup and that people wear different masks, and that's true. But if we're family, take the mask off, So, and then Mr. Blue just said it's a generational thing, in my opinion. I always say when people tell me there's a generational thing, then I always like to reply, well, then parents have a problem. Because the generation should get better. If the generation's worse, I find that a lot. I'm seeing a lot, and I'm 40 now, so I'm everybody's mom. If I'm on SEPTA, everybody 15 and under, y'all my kids. Right. And I treat the kids like that, and I actually find that the kids have a value for that, even if they are smoking weed on the train. But I also see adults who villainize children as though the children created this space in this world. And I see a lot of adults frowning their face at children or treating children like they are the enemy, like they are the predators. And I try to remind us is that if a child is not doing well, or if a woman is not doing well, then we as a society is not doing well. Right. So you have to look at yourself. So that generational thing, I have an appreciation for the language of it, because again, that's something that just gets thrown on us. Oh, it's the next generation. But that meant the parents were terrible.
Well, one of the things, working in a psych hospital, I was working in a psych hospital 15 years. I'm left around the pandemic. But one of the things I used to tell families, because they will just like bring their child or family member to crisis and go, all right, you guys got to fix them. And I'm like, well, the person, the client is in crisis, yes, but the whole family's in crisis. So it's not like you guys go home and you rest. We fix them, and then you come pick them up, and all is good. No. So my favorite motto is, if your partner or your family member is in crisis, you are as well as in crisis.
Yeah, I absolutely value that. I was a teacher for 5 years, and working in community mental health in the children's space for about 2 years as well. I've noticed that we don't have like a systemic view when it comes to family. It's usually a child, just like Romaine said, being labeled as the problem. Well, there's a system problem. There is a observation problem, because we're only the sum of our relationships when we're children, right? And our experiences. If we're not being shown other opportunities, how could a blank slate know what to do?
Yeah. Yeah, this is so true. And in the next hour, we're actually going to have a man on. He created an app called Upfront. And what it is it's a 2-part experience for Black Americans who want to be partnered. The first part is the coaching experience. You go through extensive coaching to make sure that you're actually a viable partner. And then the second part of the experience is then being partnered. So that app is called Upfront, which is really great, right? Be upfront about who you are. So it's actually not about fixing who you are. It's about you just being able to assert who you are. And when I had a meeting with him a couple of weeks ago, because we were talking about doing a collaboration in some type of way of just trying to work together, he hit me with a statistic, which I want to sort of share with you guys and the viewers. I don't know if it's going to surprise you, but it shocked me. It says statistically 27% of, or only 27% of Black Americans will get married. And that's a declining number. In 1940s, it was 59%. And even in 2022, it was, or I guess it declined down to 27% in 2022. And it's been steadily declining ever since. But even in 2023, it bounced up a little bit to 33%, but now it's back on the decline. So just the idea, okay, yes, 27%, that's already a scary number, right? Because that means that the vast majority, 8 out of 10 people won't get married, which is totally fine. But the scarier thing is that we are one of the lowest in terms of Black people in the world to get married. One of the, even in third world countries where they don't shower, they're getting married.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So it's just like, this is something that we have to think about. And this is something when we have to talk about. And it all starts with, how comfortable are we being safe? And how comfortable are we being vulnerable, so that we can get the people next to our spirit and our souls that we need, so that we can have this partnership. I want to thank you both so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. Listen, audience, I know we are not as bubbly as we typically are, but even in the failure, there's such positivity, because at least you're still in the game. And so I appreciate you both very much. Guys, you're listening to WURD Radio, 900 AM, 96.1 FM. My name is Candace, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. You want it with your black eyed peas. Remember that part? Hi, guys. You are listening to... Did we name the show? Nicholas, I came in this morning and I knew I was guest hosting, and Nicholas is like, well, we need a name for the show. And I said, okay, well, listen, last year we tested out the pleasure principle. Principle meaning, the position. And I like that. I like being the boss. And who do you respect more than the principal? So that's why we're just going ahead. We went ahead and went with that name again. Guys, you're listening to WURD Radio. My name is Candace Johnson. 900 AM. Hello, the AM people. Are people still listening to the AM station?
Yeah, some people.
Okay. Hi, AM station listeners. 96.1 FM people, and of course our Facebook viewers, which I appreciate. That wave is just for you if you're actually watching us. Guys, give a call in, 215-634-8065. Listen, the first hour I was in my feelings. I mean, I live in my feelings, but I was really in my feelings. I wanted to feel all my feelings. If you were listening in the last hour, then of course I revealed that I'm a little bit of a downer today for 2 reasons. One, it's very gloomy outside. And then the second is that I am just feeling the weight of my New Year's resolution failures, even though I'm responsible for my failures, but the failures are not my fault. I was broken up with last night. And I went into this new year thinking that I had a partner, and then that was it. And then I was done, and then I can move on. And turns out I cannot. I am still in the dating pool. I'm right back in there. Luckily, I look good in a bathing suit. So I do know that this person will find me. And I just want to make this declaration is that the breakup was so healthy. I actually already feel like I'm ready to find another partner. I'm not really necessarily interested in just dating for fodder, But I love the idea that there is a person out there waiting for me, and that when our time comes, I will have done my part. I will have done all my work. I will be present, and I just hope that he comes correct also. I'm a straight woman, so I date the he's. Okay, so I found this article from Pew Research Center, right? After I was just talking to you guys in the last break about that 27%. Only 27% of Black Americans will be married. So why is that, right? I don't like giving a statistic that sounds so scary just for people to be able to hold on to and then run with it, right? Because now you get to just tell everyone of your friends who longs for marriage, who you want to, mess them up. You'll say like, oh, well, only 27% of you are going to get married, like that. But why is it only 27%? Here is what Pew Research Center says. Here's some key facts about U.S. Black population. Okay, so number one, the Black population in the U.S. has grown by 1/3 since the year 2000. 1/3. Okay, so think about that. And here's why. It's not that there are more babies born. But listen to this. The number of people who identify as another race in addition to Black has increased by 269%. Okay, so that just means that even by way in which we identify ourselves are changing. And of course, things like 23andMe has helped with that, right? Those sort of DNA ancestral testers that you can get done, they're now letting people know, oh, you are this, right? There are a lot of white people who got all messed up when they realized they got 15% Black in them, right? And also a lot of Black people who realized that they have a percentage of European in them. I think I'm something like 14% European, which would make sense if you hear the way I speak. No, I'm just kidding. That was just a joke. So the number 2 fact, the Black population has grown fastest in the United States, historically, I'm reading this incorrectly, guys. Let me just go back a little bit. Let me talk a little slower. The Black population has grown fastest in the states that historically have not had Black residences. Okay, so now what we're talking about is not only are we repositioning ourselves as Black, but we're also moving into spaces where there are no other Blacks, right? So that means then your likelihood of dating and marrying interracially has grown exponentially because ain't no other Black folk around there, right? And I definitely choose love over choosing alone if I can't be with a Black man. And I'm someone who's definitely dated outside my race. I do think that love is love. I think our ancestors smile the highest and sing the loudest when we can find partnership within our hue. But I also think that everyone's just happy when we can just find love. Okay, so the metropolitan area that holds the most Black residences, New York. New York. So maybe I should just go pop up to New York and just hang around and see if my husband's up there. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? I actually have a meeting in New York next week, so maybe I'll just go to Brooklyn. I don't know, the Bronx? Where should I go? Harlem? Where should I go? Where they at? Where they at? All right, so just a couple things. Okay, here's another one that I thought was really interesting. Stay with me here. The Black population in the U.S. is considered relatively young. Within 2023, the median age for a Black American is 32.6 years old. I'm 41 and I don't typically date younger, right? So if the average Black American is 32 years old, then maybe that means that if I want to marry, then I also need to skew a little bit younger. These are just some of the things that I'm like thinking about and I'm considering, right? Because, like I just said, I'm back here out on the scene. So listen, Nicholas and I are getting to know each other in commercial break. I asked him, I said, oh, are you single or are you dating? And Nicholas, what did you say?
I'm single at the moment.
You're single. And I asked you, is it important for you to date?
Yeah, I think dating, it's like building up a muscle. It's a certain kind of muscle that's important, a social one that's not just connected to like family and friends. It's an important muscle to build up.
Okay. Are you dating? When was the last time you were on a date? Let me ask that question.
Oh man, I think it's been a while. I've kind of stopped doing the online dating apps because I thought a lot of them were monotonous and it just wasn't my kind of thing, but I've gotten back on them. I'm not really a fan of it. I feel like it's so disconnected from like actually talking to people.
Yeah. Do you prefer the apps because you don't feel like going outside?
I can't stand that I actually have to go places to meet people. That's something I still got to get over. But, I mean, in reality, that's where all the cool people are. They're outside. They're doing stuff. So, yeah, I need to kind of stick to that as opposed to the dating apps because I find I'm a little bit too laid back on the apps,
Yeah, you're a very laid back person. One of the things I said to him is, because I like the banter. Listen, I can talk for 3 hours. There's no problem by myself. I don't need anybody. But I do like the banter, and especially when there's a man, right? Because I'm not a man, so I always like to have a different point of view. So when I was asking Nicholas some questions, he kind of was like answering one word, and I asked him, I was like, "Are you going to be good on camera? Because you're not really saying that much." But he actually does have a bit of a personality, and so I asked him. I said, well, okay, you're dating now. It doesn't seem to be your main focus. What's your longest relationship? And at 28 years old, you said your longest relationship is 5 years. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 5 years. That was a relationship that I had coming out of high school. So it was a high school sweetheart kind of situation.
Yeah. I always feel like high school sweethearts are so important. And Nicholas said, he's like, I don't know if that counts because it was high school. I said, well, listen, I had my first boyfriend when I was 9 years old. I was in love with my neighbor. He wasn't actually my neighbor. It was my neighbor across the street were grandparents. And he would come to the block every summer. He would spend the summer with his grandparents. And so he was best friends with my brother. And then I ended up falling in love with him, whatever that means at 9. And, I don't know, it brought me butterflies, and it also brought me this really beautiful experience of what love feels like in its most innocent. When it's just the feeling that's the priority. There's nothing else attached to it, right? There's no need yet. I'm just experiencing the feeling of good. So I always think about that, and it's a feeling that I try to carry on with myself continuously, right? Like, what does it mean to just like somebody without any type of expectations or things like that? But also, when we're talking about community and we're talking about partnership, it's not just about me doing my work, but are you willing to come outside? Nicholas, you have to come to our relationship bingo event at the end of the month.
Relationship bingo?
Yes.
How does that work?
See, y'all, he ain't even listening because I already talked about it in the last break or in the last segment. What it's like. So it's an event that my company puts on, but mostly what it is it's a space for people to not just go out and listen to a bunch of music and drink. That's fine. I have no qualms with that, but there are enough places where you guys can all do that. Now it's about, like, in my events, it's about talking, sharing your experiences, finding commonality with people, and connecting with either friends, potentially lovers, or just new conversations to be able to expand your mind. So with Relationship Bingo, instead of on the board being numbers and letters, we do relationship stages and styles. So then it's also a way of being able to go through your romantic history and your experiences without actually interviewing someone, right? So then we're just asking you, hey, what do you think about being a partner in an open relationship? Is that something you can handle? What do you think that is? Like, we're kind of just sort of talking about it that way. And then let's say you say something that's very profound, then people can come to you after and say, hey, I really like what you said. And then you have a reason to connect. Or if you say something really idiotic, we can come and, hold a prayer circle around you and get you together. Okay, so Harry had something to say. He said, number one, he says that Jill has new music out. Yes, Jill Scott has new music out. I'm really excited about it. Nick said he played one of her new songs. We'll play it later. I'm really interested in hearing it. I haven't heard it yet. But Jill Scott is my forever American Idol. Jill Scott can have a new song out every day or never put out a new song anymore, and she will always be relevant to me. Okay, and then Harry also is saying that that you hope we had a great 8 months. You know what? In my relationship lasted about 8 or 9 months. We did. You know what? We had a beautiful time experiencing who each other is, who we are. And it was such a beautiful relationship because there was so much potential there. And I'm very blessed to be in the experience that when breakups happen, it's never fodder. It's never cheating. It's never cruel. It's always true spiritual divide. This just simply can't be. And therefore, I wish you well. And I wish him well. And one of the things he said to me last night when he was leaving my home was that he really wants to make sure that we're friends. And that's something that's really important for me to preserve as well. So I'm going to do my part to maintain being his friend. Okay, and then another thing is women want a 6-foot dude with a 6-foot salary. Well, that's coming from Harry again. Harry, I'm only assuming that you're not a woman. I'm only assuming that. And then I'm also going to make the assumption that you date women, I assume. But I always like to remind, particularly men, when they tell me what women want, is that, well, I'm the source. You just date the source. So maybe you're talking to or dating people who only want those things. But a woman who's more focused on the physicality and the finances of a man is a woman who's likely not linked into her safety and spirituality. Because while being with a 6 foot tall man is excellent, I'd rather be with a man who's in shape and can fight. You know what I mean? And you could be 5'5" and in shape and can fight, you know, like, you know, you could be 6 foot tall and you can't do nothing to anybody. I can knock you down with the knees. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And when it comes to six figures, well, you know, six figures not even a lot of money anymore. Six figures just means you're paying the bills, and maybe we go on vacation once a year. But again, if your safety relies in finances, if your discomfort alone lies in your finances, then yeah, having a man who can make a decent amount of money is great. But here is what any woman who's been with a man with a lot of money will tell you. Money don't mean nothing. Once you're crying, once you're sad, once you're feeling lonely, once you realize that you are in a bed with a person you can't connect with, man, there is nothing more lonely than that, okay? And honestly, being alone is not nearly as lonely as being with someone and realizing that they're giving you everything except the thing that you spiritually need, okay? That's just something that I've learned along the way. And I also feel like that's something that isn't necessarily taught. It's something you feel once you've had a certain number of loving relationships, okay? I don't know. It's just something that I think about. And as I'm also kind of ranting, Nick, I will actually want you to play that clip from Jill Scott when she's talking about the power of women, because it really sort of calls to my spirit as a woman, as the person who feels like I'm the source. I just can't live in the space where I feel like men are allowed to say that they're leaving. Where are you going? Where are you going without the women? Play that clip for me, Nicholas. I think it's clip number 2. That would have been so smooth if he had gotten a job.
You work hard in your 20s.
Oh, that's not it.
You work smart.
Oh gosh, I may not have sent it to you. You know what? I'll just talk you through it. But that clip is important too, and we'll come back to that one. That was about business, and we are going to come back to that one. But Jill Scott was talking about the women that she's seen. She's talked about like just the spirit of the women that she's gotten to know. Nicholas, I might have set you up for failure because maybe I didn't send it to you. But she talked about always being around strong women. And when she thinks about women, she sees them on whales. She sees them on horses. You know, we are the only species where we bleed and we don't die. You know, we live on and we live prosperously. It is a sin to believe that we are not the power. We are the portal. What is the power if not the portal? We are the entryway. And so while I have a fondness for men, while I have a dear consideration for men, while I dream of men, while I am a lover of men, I don't quite think I understand this whole thing of like leaving the women, not wanting to lean into the women, not wanting to share with the women. And I'm not just meaning that romantically. I am the oldest sister and I only have brothers. I demand that they open themselves, but I also see how they run, you know, how they want to preserve their hardness because society is a bit tough. And we demand a lot of toughness from everybody involved. Phyllis, good afternoon. Candace, producer. Candace, a producer. Okay, so Nick, your producer. Good morning, WURD family. Yes, we are having a blessed day. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody's talking to Nick now. Okay, well, talk to me too, y'all. All right, so let's get off of the love train, okay, guys? We can be done with that. Now let's talk about who we are in business. And let's be honest, a lot of our love life is dictated by our business, right? If you're working 2 jobs, right, when do you have time for the romantification of love, right? If you are working a corporate job and you're working 10, 15 hours a day, right, when do you have time for the romantification of love? For me, I'm very blessed to own my own company. But even in that, the ups and downs with being an entrepreneur, I sometimes yes, I physically have the time because I can set my schedule, but emotionally and sometimes spiritually, I don't have the bandwidth to be beautiful or to be a lover girl or to be this perfect person to be around. Sometimes I do spiral out of control and it all comes back to business. And then I heard Jill Scott say something, and then Nick, that's the clip that I want you to play. I heard Jill Scott say something about the timeline of her method of working, and I thought, well, dang, I'm doing it wrong.
You work hard in your 20s. You work smart in your 30s. You work how you want to in your 40s. You work when you want to in your 50s, and you work if you want in your 60s. That came really early, and that's the way that I'm planning my life.
Okay.
You work hard.
Well, why didn't she give us those lessons a little bit early on? She could have wrote about a song about that 20 years ago and saved me. So let me tell you what I was doing. I'm going to reiterate for you guys what Jill just said, right? So in 20s, you work hard. In 30s, you work smart. In 40s, you do what you want. In 50s, you kind of sort of like get it all together. So in 60s, it's an option. Here's the thing. Here's what I did. Okay. So I want to say my first professional accomplishment came when I was about 1.5 years old. Guys, I'm actually looking for this. I'm looking for the white pages. Remember the white pages? I was in the white pages. I was the baby on the bench with another little baby. And I want to get a copy of that because I don't have one. And I really want to see that picture. But in any case, my first accomplishment came when I was 1.5 years old. My parents really encouraged us to be successful. So, being at Kappa by the time I was a teenager, Creative and Performing Arts High School, well, we were already doing such great things, being on the stage at Juilliard. And I got accepted into NYU by the time I was 15 or 16 years old. It's like we were already doing such huge things that it didn't occur to me that I could ever fail. So by my 20s, I really just wanted to be a party girl. I was already in the entertainment industry, living it up, adjacent to the music industry. I was a pretty young thing and people loved me. So for me, it was about working hard and playing harder. You know what I mean? And being able to do it on the company's dime, because a lot of those parties were sponsored parties. In my 30s, I worked the hardest I ever did in my entire life. That was when I was a television news producer. So being able to really be at the front line of offering our community information that's fair and balanced and well-preserved, just as we do here on WURD Radio, it takes a lot, right? It's not just about listening to the gossip or listening to police, but it's about fact checking and making sure that everything lines up to what we assume to be the truth. And now that I'm in my 40s, I want to work less, but I want to be more impactful or just as impactful as I ever have been before, which is why it's been so important for me to connect with you guys here on WURD. It's why it's important for me to stay near a microphone and to be able to share these sentimentalities. Sometimes it's always not great to share talk about love when you're talking about the failure of love, but it's all the human experience. And if no one else is talking about it, then I really do feel like I have to. I really do feel that way. And so when it comes to my 50s, I'm really hoping that you guys just sort of buy out all of these touchy-feely intimacy card games, and then maybe I can just retire. I just want to retire. But then I really wouldn't retire because I do love a microphone. I told you guys last week when I was filling in for Solomon Jones that one of my favorite places in the world is in front of a microphone. And with that being said, we have to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have something super cool, okay? We are going to have John Graham join us. He is the creator of an app called Upfront. What it is, it's a 2-part app. What it is it's meant to provide coaching for Black Americans who want to be partnered. Are you healthy enough for partnership, and are you ready for marriage? I'm super excited to talk about him, and he's going to also talk to me about that 27% number that we had mentioned earlier today. Guys, you're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM. I'm Candace. We'll be back after commercial break. Okay, everyone, you are listening to WURD Radio. I'm Candace Johnson, your host, just for the next half hour. I hope you're enjoying the show. I know, listen, the vibe in WURD is matching the vibe outside. We're just trying to get through dry. You know what I mean? Without crying or getting rained on. That's really it. If you want to give us a call in, you can. 215-634-8065. In the last hour we were talking about New Year's resolution failures. 88% of us have already given up or have somehow lapsed on our New Year's resolutions. I don't know that I actually shared what my 2 failures were. Well, number 1, it's my relationship, which ended last night. And with all due love, respect, and kindness. So there are no hard feelings. That may be just like tender feelings. But okay to be back on the dating market, but just a little weary about like what's out there for me. I think dating is so different when dating is different when you are looking for partnership. There are a lot of really amazing men out there to have a fun dinner with or a fun vacation with, to chat with, all those kinds of things. But when it comes for true partnerships, I'm just not seeing what I need to see in the men that really helps me connect. And I have a lot of guy friends, and beyond guy friends, I have a lot of male clients. You know, I do the intimacy coaching, helping people really be able to bring on fully who themselves, present to their partners, so that they can really expose themselves and lean into vulnerability. And, you know, just for me, I don't want someone that I have to teach. I want someone who's already there. I'm very, very into the whole equally yoked part of the Bible. And so I don't know. I just get a little nervous about what it looks like for the next person. And I want to thank Miss Phyllis, because she just said to me, you know, we were talking about Jill Scott, who was saying, you know, in her 20s, she works this hard, and 30s and 40s and 50s. And then Miss Phyllis just said, by your 80s, you just don't care. Been there, done that, enjoy life and keep moving. Listen, I'm trying to be there now, but I haven't done that yet. I still haven't gotten married. I still haven't decided with a partner if I'm having children. So what do we do when we've not been all the way there yet? I've been all the way up to being a fiance, but not quite jumping the broom. So, but also maybe that's not meant for me. I don't know. Definitely my aim isn't to be partnered. My aim is to be fully in my pleasure and fully in my satisfaction. I feel like I've done that as an independent person. I don't necessarily feel like I have gotten that with partnership. Oh, and it looks like we have a caller, Gary from Mount Airy. Gary, be kind to me. What do you have to say this morning or this afternoon?
I just want to say good morning. Wait, good afternoon. I just want to say Happy New Year's. And I just want to say that your past relationship wasn't a failure. It was just a teachable moment for you to move further. So you keep on looking, keep on praying, because God has your answer. God bless.
Gary, I appreciate you. I really, really do. Oh, I appreciate you. God bless you too. And that was a blessing to me, and I take that. See, and this is the world I live in. The world I live in is that when you call out to a man, or when you call out to your community, when you call out to your women, and you say, hey, I'm feeling down, I need you to hold me up. That is what comes to you. That is what comes to me, right? And that's what we're supposed to be doing for each other. When we're feeling weary, when we're feeling exhausted, when we feel like we can't take another step, it's not for me to take another step. It's for me to say out loud, I cannot take another step. And then look up and feel blessed by the people around me who are willing to carry me. I'm about to get emotional because it's so true. I feel like we live in this time when it's like, when you can't take one more step, take another step. Well, how do we do that? How do we do that? Carry me. Okay? Carry me over, because you know that I'm worth it. And once I replenish, I will come back for you. Okay? I don't know. It's just something that I think about. It's so important. So we are waiting for our next guest. John has not called in yet. I just texted him to see what's happening. He is in Dallas, Texas. So I don't know if maybe he was thinking, because I think they're about an hour behind us. So now I'm like a little worried, like, oh no, maybe we won't get him. But let's go back to talking about our New Year's resolutions and our failures, because I definitely hear you, Gary, when you were mentioning that it wasn't a failure, it was a lesson. But to me, one and the same. You know, I really respect the word failure. I think that failure is only a word talked about amongst winners, right? Because you have to be in the race to fail. And there are so many of us sitting on the sidelines, either judging or fanning out over someone else's accomplishments or lack thereof, or failures, right? They're the missteps when they try. But the coolest ones are the ones who are actively trying. And I am definitely actively trying. That's like it's very important to me to be a person who is moving forward in my life and trying. And, you know, one of the greatest gifts of what I do for work is to be able to be so vulnerable, to show people what it's like. You know, I'm a person who, when I do have it all together, I am a little bit full of myself. I do feel a little bit pompous. I have that energy of, oh my God, look, I said I wanted to get it and I got it done. And look at how great that is. And I think a lot of that we see on social media. But what about when you think you have it all? It's literally all in your hands. And then it all sort of dispersed like sand, just running, you know, through your fingertips and just fully leaving your grip. And you realize, oh shoot, well, this is a part of the human experience also, is thinking you have it, thinking that you have it all. And then realizing, just like Michelle Obama said, you might be able to have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. And you have to be mindful to be able to get back up, brush your knees off, and, you know, try again. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try again. The beauty of having a breakup look, I keep saying I'm going to go to business and I keep talking about my breakup. The beauty of having a breakup in the 40s, I will say, is the bounce back is incredibly quick. he broke up with me 6:30 yesterday, and by 10 o'clock I was hanging out with one of my guy friends. We just like hung out, we talked all night. He sort of helped me get back into my mind, and I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good. I know who I am. Everything's all good. I'm not going to be stressed out about this, and most importantly, I'm just going to be thankful for the time that he and I had together. And when it comes to the work, and let me ask this question, because I wonder of you, is relationships, or is just the idea of love, is it too much work when you also have your professional job? Nicholas, I'm actually going to have you answer this with me too, right? Because, right, you don't have the luxury of not choosing work, right? You have to work. But it does seem like a lot of people feel like they have the luxury to not choose love, partnership, connection, or dating. Do you find that they're both equally important, or do you feel like there's one you can opt out of?
I think you can technically opt out of one or both of them if you like, whichever one you find to be more important. I think that, how do I say this? I think that the love portion of it, the relationship part, is way more important. However, in some cases, you can't even get to that relationship part if you don't have the job part figured out, if you don't have the career part figured out. Or if you don't, then it filters out who you have access to. If I'm somebody that's got a job when I'm at McDonald's, I might not be able to meet the love of my life unless she comes into McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of filters out who you get access to. But in some ways, they're both extremely important because they complement one another. There's some people in different ways, too. Sometimes people work a job that they hate, but they make a whole lot of money. But that's okay because they make all that money to come home to a wife or a family that they love, and that allows them to keep working that job that they don't like. Whereas if it's the opposite, if you work a job you really like, but you got to go home to somebody you don't like, that job becomes an escape for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you made a really great point about like peace at home, right? Like you're not necessarily thinking that your work life is going to be peaceful. I think most of us actually live with the thought that we are going to have issues with our coworkers, or we're going to have to deal, right? People use that word a lot. I'm going to deal with somebody. So the last thing you want is to not be able to have peace at home. So that totally makes sense to me. I am thinking of a story that one of my guy friends shared with me. It's one of my very good guy friends. He's very successful here in the city. He's a restaurateur. And he was sharing with me how, he loves dating women where they can date for a period of time and then, they can part. And the reason why is because he owns restaurants, and those are all consuming, So, yeah, he's the owner, but he's also the worker. Anyone who's ever worked in restaurants knows how it is like with that. And so he likes kind of low stress relationships that are super temporary. And I said, okay, well, what about the beauty, though, of having someone who truly loves you and truly is there for you and can sort of help regenerate your energy when you are a little exhausted? And he's like, oh, I don't really need that. Like, he really likes what he likes. Okay, great. Then he tells me this story. And the thing I find with some people is they have to experience it. They can't be told it. So he told me this story. So one night he was really excited. He had met this girl. He had hung out with her one night. It was super fun. She asked if she can hang out the next night and bring a friend. He said, sure. So he takes these two girls out and they go to a restaurant. They went to, I won't even say the name of the restaurant. They went to a restaurant, and he immediately realized that this is not a group hangout. This is two girls who are hanging out together, who are with a man who they expect to just pay the check. All right, Nick is already, I haven't even finished the story, and Nick is already nodding his head. Come on in here. What are you thinking right now?
Yeah, that's what that sounds like. Because I'm just going to say, I have not had a dating experience where somebody was like, this is so great, I'm going to bring my friend along. Usually if it's something that you really like, you go, oh, I like this, I'm going to hang on to this. And then you get to tell your friends about it and have them go, oh, wow, that sounds like a nice relationship. So as soon as somebody goes, I want my friend to come along with you, it's like, okay, well, are you trying to get me to meet your friend because you think your friend might be a better pick? Or am I here to pay for you guys to have a nice night out? That's what it was leaning towards.
Yeah. Well, that's funny, right? Because those were his thoughts. His thoughts was like, oh, okay, you're bringing your friend. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, the more the merrier. Especially when you are in hospitality, then like that is just your thinking. And then, yeah, really quickly he realized, right, it was the energy thing. He realized that, yeah, he's sitting at this round table, but two people are here who are friends. And one is definitely the beneficiary, right, of the dinner. And he realized that because the server came over and asked the table, you know, what would you like to drink? My friend doesn't really drink alcohol. So he was like, I'll just have a water and a juice. Then not the girl he was dating, but the girlfriend's friend says, I'll have a double shot of tequila. She chooses one of the most expensive tequilas, and the drink ended up being like $45. That was just the one. Then she ordered more. And so then they ordered a bunch of food. And so as they're wrapping up, the girls are like, oh, you know, we're full. We want to get out of here. Let's go. And my friend says, he looks at the table and he goes, there was just a bunch of food and drinks that were not eaten or drink, just sitting there. And he said he got really annoyed and bothered because what are you doing? Like, you asked for this stuff. What are you going to do? Are you at least going to take it home? And the girls said, well, we don't want to carry it. And he said he felt so disrespected. He had never felt that way before. And I said to him, yes, this is the downfall of the type of dating experience you want. You want somebody who's disposable. So now someone is treating you and your finances as though they are disposable. This is the downside. He doesn't ever really experience it that way. He usually experiences it as, oh yeah, I have the money. I'm the entertainer. Everyone's having a good time. It's great. But for whatever reason, the flow of this energy helped him to see, even if he were not at that table, as long as his credit card was there, then the fun was going to keep on happening. And so that's also something that you have to think about when you're deciding who you're dating or how you're dating. Do you really want to date somebody who is comfortable with what you're providing? Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But is that what you're wanting? Because then you could find yourself in an experience where you're like, dang, I don't need to be here. Just my credit card needs to be here. Right? Or do you want to be with a person who actually wants you? But also there's a downside to that, right? Because your credit card won't be enough. I'm that kind of woman where I want your time and I want your energy, which is actually the most expensive thing you have. Your credit card is, you know, indifferent to me, except for, of course, when the bill comes, because I would like you to pick that up. But after you have very lovingly shared energy with me, right? I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I think about. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think about it when it comes to like meeting friends, when it comes to hosting. I have a lot of guy friends. And like I said, I coach a lot of guy friends. There is the assumption for me that my guy friends are going to pick up the check, but it's just because I'm still in that generation. But I also find that there are other ways that I acquiesce. There are other ways that I give. It's not really like they give and I just take. But I do feel like there has to be this really lovely dance of like, well, what are the things that you provide and what are the things that I provide? Almost like that value system. Has any woman ever paid for dinner for you or paid for a date with you?
I've had female friends that pay for, if we go out to a dinner, maybe they'll pay, but that's because sometimes we do a thing where it's whoever invited the other person out. So if somebody goes, hey, I'd like to meet up and get something to eat, they feel like they're inclined to pay. And sometimes I let them, more often than not, I try not to. Sometimes we split it. But that's because, at least among my female friends, I have a thing in my head where it's like, okay, I'll just treat them like they're a guy so that they don't feel like they get any kind of special treatment. And that way nobody, the wires don't get crossed up. But as far as a date doing that, nah, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd be very comfortable with a date doing that, though. I don't like that.
See, I hear that a lot. And that's why with my guy friends, I don't pay, is that I hear them when they say that. Now, of course, nobody wants to be used for money.
Very true.
But there are some men, I don't know if you call them old school men, or I don't know what you say, you guys can call in, of course. But there are some men who do just feel like they want to pick up the check and they don't even enjoy the experience of having someone else do that. And that was taught to me the hard way also, because I used to be a woman to go, well, let me pick it up. Let me do this for you. But the thing about love languages is you have to be able to perform in a way that they actually receive it. And with that being said, we have to go to commercial break. So I guess John is not going to be able to catch us in this hour. But guys, guess what? I have something important to say right after this commercial break. I'll tell you in a minute. You guys have a lot to say when it comes to guy friends and when it comes to paying for dates. So let's get through it. Well, Harry asked, do I have more guy friends than girlfriends? Well, I know a lot of people in general. Your girl is very popular. And I would say infamous more than famous. So when it comes to the counsel of my interpersonal relationship, yes, I do talk to my guy friends more because I date men. And I always like to go to a source. So I don't go to girlfriends when it comes to my love life. I fill them in, but I talk to guys because men know. So to answer that, that's that. And then Phyllis asked, she says, I feel it's never a good idea to pay for a date. It's like buying a relationship. Wait, but Phyllis, I guess I have this question. I hope that we have time to answer, so please respond really quickly. Would you say that to women, or are you saying that to men? And also, what is the buying of a date? Because I always feel like we have to pamper our men too. Okay, guys, I know I said in the last break that I didn't think John was going to join us, but actually he just got to me. So you know what? Better late than never. And as the, former, I am a late friend, so I'm not even mad at you. Okay?
I'm so not the late friend. That's crazy. This is
you are today.
Unorthodox. My bad.
No, that's okay. But just in time. And you know what? At the end of the day, we still have like we have 10 or 11 minutes. So I want to talk to you about two things up front, but let's start with this first. That 27% number that you gave to me. Do you remember that conversation that we had a few weeks ago?
I do.
Okay. So we already in the last hour talked a little bit about 27% just because it's been haunting me. I shared some statistic from Pew Research Center, which is sort of pointing at some of the reason for that 27%. I'm just going to go over a couple of those points really quickly. One is that a third of the Black population rose in 2020. In the 2000s. I apologize. And the reason why is because even just the way people are identifying on forms have changed. People are only just now realizing that they are Black, right? And I'm guessing that's from, I know it's funny, but from DNA.
Surprise.
Yeah, from DNA things. I mean, I recently had my 23andMe done. Thank God there are no other siblings or parents or anything like that came out. But I definitely realized that 14 or 15% of me is European. Also saying that the Black population is relatively young, with the median age being 32.6. You're nodding your head, so these are some things that you've heard. The most common or the largest Black residents are in New York metropolitan area. And then lastly, that Black people are finally starting to spread in areas where there are not traditionally Black people. So then you're probably looking at more of an interracial situation versus a Black marriage as we define it. So hop in here, talk to me about how you happened upon this 27% and what your thoughts are on it.
So the 27% in terms of our marital rate, which it's 29%, but it is declining. I mean, there's projections that will be in the single digits in the next 20 years if we don't make a change. But yes, that statistic hit me like a ton of bricks when I looked at the historical marital trends in the Black community in U.S., right? So the American context. And when I noted that post-emancipation in 1866, 1865, but the period of Reconstruction between 1866 and 1872, we were starting to come into our own absent enslavement, right? So we're popping up towns, we're starting to join the political arena. We're doing things, and that sort of created this headwind for this tailwind for us, that the broader society was like, oh no, they're doing way too much too fast. And so Reconstruction ends, they start pulling programs, whatever the case may be. But what remained is that we were still forming unions, marital unions, at a rate that excelled any other racial group in the country. So much so that between 1866 and 1978, we were the most married racial group in this country at over 85%. Right? Now, if you think about that, we were the most married in the harshest times, right? Because post-emancipation, it wasn't like, all roses and champagne. It was Jim Crow, it was segregation, it was lynchings, it was all of these things. And yet we still we were still compelled to connect, right? This interdependent notion was still very much at play. And I also say that we had outside forces that weren't, quick to lend a helping hand, right? So we had to do for us. Point being, when you looked at that decline from 1978 to today, right? We're talking 60 years, right? We have gone from the most married to the least married in a shorter period of time, by the way, than what we established as the standard or the high standard of marital rate. So that was like a clarion call to action for me. Like something happened that was very concerted, very intentional to destroy what, if, why would they focus on the family if it wasn't as critical and important, right? Why not something else? But no, that's what we're contending with today.
Yeah. And tell us all how you are contending with this. Like talk about, let's move into it. Because listen, here's the thing. It is the joy of my life to be two things, Black and a woman.
No doubt.
I wish if we have multiple lives that everyone gets the experience of doing it. And then to trilogize it by having me be an American, right? Because I'm sure my experience as a Black woman would be very different in any other country, or in any other continent. But to be able to do it here and to be able to do it with grace and with privilege and to love my Black men, to see them as my brothers and my cousins and my fathers and my grandfather, like to have that, I'm so thankful for it. But I also see you. And when you have the gift of sight to see your family members, you also expect them to rise. I won't settle for less, but I want to be partnered. So let's talk about what you're doing to make that happen for us.
Yes. So Upfront is our approach to facilitating 1 million Black marriages by 2035. And we are a small task. We are approaching that audacious mission by bringing AI and advanced technology healing and a mandatory period of guided coaching by our AI models into relationship readiness before connection. So the thesis was, if we could increase the marital rate, then we would increase household incomes. We would increase educational outcomes for children, health outcomes, and life expectancy, of which Black folks are at the bottom of all four. And so we realized that a lot of relationships, even when there's chemistry and spark at the front end, tend to be derailed. If they don't make it, they tend to be derailed by either or both persons' baggage, right? The unhealed aspects of them that they brought into relationship and into the marriage or the connection. And so we figured, heal first, then love forever. And so that's what we're doing. And Upfront as an app is geared specifically towards the single Black professional who is seeking marriage or marriage minded.
Well, you can add me in now. When we last talked, I had a boyfriend, but now I am fully single.
Oh man.
And yeah. That's okay. He broke up with me last night. But that's okay. We already spent the first 90 minutes talking about it. You late. But
I'll watch the replay. I'll call you.
I spent the first hour sort of like, just a little somber. It's raining here. And I told people, listen, somber. And also it's week 2 of the new year, which is 88% of us will have failed at our New Year's resolutions. So my relationship is coming to an end right on time. But we talked about failure being a part of the player experience, right? So just by mere fact that I'm in the game, it's winning. And I remind people in the last hour, and I'm happy to say it all the time, I talk about failure as a positive. Serena Williams we already know who Serena Williams is. I'm not even going to bore you guys by saying who she is. But she's also a woman who has lost 95% of the matches that she's played. So by all means, if you are saying what Serena Williams is, she's also a person who fails. So I want to be a person who fails also, and I'm okay with that. So add me into your database, because I am looking. I am ready. I am prepared. I said to my boyfriend last night as he was leaving, because he's like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want you to leave here, or I don't want to leave and you start crying. I said, honestly, I feel so resolved. I have done every single thing that I can think to do in this relationship, and I am proud of the way I carried myself. And we really are okay. We are really okay. So let me tell you, my husband is going to get something awesome. I mean, I'm still a brat. I'm very sassy and I can't shut my mouth for anything. But I know I am ready for partnership, which is what God gives you when you feel like you are a fully satisfied individual. Ooh. I am ready to multiply. And yeah, maybe that'll look like children, but it might just be a community of showing others what love looks like and what a man who is truly taken care of does. when you put them out there.
So I'll ask you a question, because I know you are one who is very self-aware. As you project, right, this ideal, this image, this notion of the husband who is ready for you, what will that feel like? What will that relationship feel like for you?
Oh, easy peasy. Myself in the intersection of feeling like when I'm 9, like when I'm a little girl giddy, and when I am my most powerful in the boardroom, which is when I'm clear about the decision and I don't have to second guess it. It's very bizarre. My feeling in love, or my feeling a spark with somebody, is the intersection of just extreme happiness mixed with such self-assurance. And I have to, this is so funny. So, Ms. Phyllis, thank you so much for your comment. She said that we need a whole another hour because this topic is so great. And yes, heal first, love forever, she says. She agrees with that. And then Ms. Wanda, I do appreciate your comment. She says, can you please stop talking about your breakup on air if you want to stay friends with him? At this point, I think we need to hear his side of it. Happy to share his side of it if he would love to come on. Like I said, we are okay. But damn, Ms. Wanda, listen, let me be in my feelings for just one more minute. It just happened last night. Please hug me. But that's okay, because we also have those, we have those aunties that come to us and they just want us to be strong. They want us to move forward. And I do appreciate that also. Mm-hmm. We have just one more, minute on air before we have to end the show. And I know you said at the top of the segment that you want to be responsible for 1 million marriages. Okay, I'm single. I'm ready for partnership. What am I doing first to be a part of your 1 million marriages?
Sure. So first things first is you have to visit upfront.love and sign up. We're currently in beta, so we go live next month. We go live in February, so Valentine's launch.
Valentine's and Black History Month.
Well, that's absolutely right. So Black love is the revolution. Shout out to my homegirl, Vernita Adele. That is what we are on track for. So when you sign up, and it'll be available via iOS or Android, then you begin. You choose your AI advisor first, Langston or Zora, and then you're off and running. You take the 26-question assessment. They learn who you are, and now your healing journey is tailored to you. No two people get the same healing journey. So what you need to grow through, heal through, whether it's childhood wounds, whether it's past relationship traumas, environmental trauma, professional, whatever the case may be, we're working with you through content, journal prompts, reflection exercises, and more to get you ready for relationship.
All right. Well, listen, I've given you guys all the information I can over the last 2 hours. Miss Wanda just said hugs, hugs, hugs. I appreciate you. I know everything was coming from love. And listen, I need tough love too. I can be quite a brat. I appreciate all you on the FaceTime or on Facebook Live with the comments. I appreciate you, John, for being able to get here with us, because even just that little bit of time is so important. I will be sporadically with you all on WURD Radio throughout January. So I really look forward to more segments to come. If you have any topic ideas, feel free to DM me at Fearless Philly on Instagram, and I'd be happy to talk about anything. And if you want John to come back, if you have questions for him, please just let me know, because you are fantastic and you're such a wealth of knowledge. And yes, add me to your 1 million marriages. I'm ready.
On it. Welcome to have you.
Have a great day, WURD Radio. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you soon.